He reads the Reverend Malthus on population growth. Malthus's book had come out in 1798. Malthus said basically that populations grow exponentially, but agriculture grows linearly. Therefore, populations will always outstrip their resource base. This convinced Darwin that all organisms are in a competitive struggle for resources and that must inevitably be the case. He saw very clearly how powerful reproduction is at generating exponential population growth. We will come back to that in the ecology portion of the course. And we now know that organisms are in competition really essentially not just over food resources, they are in competition over anything that will get their genes into the next generation. So that can be competition for mates, it can be competition for nesting sites, competition for food, lots of different things. But at any rate, this primed Darwin's thinking. So he writes down the idea of natural selection. It comes to him in 1838. It's in his notebooks in 1838. Basically, I'll run through natural selection in a minute. It's a deceptively simple idea because the mechanism looks so simple, but the consequences are so wide-ranging. Darwin recognized what the consequences were, and he didn't publish immediately. He did other things. He went off and he worked 5 or 6 years on barnacles. He wrote down lots of ideas about things unrelated to natural selection. And he wasn't really jogged out of this until a letter arrived in 1858 from Alfred Russel Wallace, a young British naturalist who had, in a fit of malarial fever, had the same idea in Indonesia. And Wallace knew that Darwin had been thinking about these things, and he sent Darwin a letter. And at that point, Darwin, British gentleman as he was, had to decide whether he would do the sort of gracious, honorable thing and let Wallace have the idea, or do the honest thing, which his colleagues knew, was that he had already had the idea. And what they decide upon is that they will do a joint publication. So if you go to the Biological Journal of the Linnaean Society for 1858, which is in the Yale Library, you can look up the back-to-back papers by Alfred Russel Wallace and Charles Darwin in which the idea of natural selection is laid out. And then Darwin rushes his book into print. So he has been working on a book that was probably going to be about 1,200 pages long, and instead he publishes an abstract of it, which he calls The Origin of Species, which is about 350 pages long. And it sells out on the first day, sold all 6,000 copies on the first day, and it has remained in print ever since.